Hello, everyone. Let's give a few more minutes till we start our webinar today. Because there might be some late learners. Let's give it about 10 minutes and then we'll start at the hour we promised. If you cannot hear me or cannot see my screen, please share it in our chatting screen. All right, everyone, let's give 4 more minutes and see where everybody are, and we will figure out if we can start or not. All right, soon it's our time to start. Before we get started with our webinar today, our webinar will be about how to avoid virtual miscommunications. But before we start, my name is Minji, or you can call me Rose, as stated in our presentation. And if you had any questions or any problems, like you cannot hear our presentation or see my shared screen, please let us know via chat. And I will shortly introduce myself. First, I am learning consultant in Korea, and I joined uh, not too long ago in March. If you guys can also chat with us where you're located or where you're from, let's have a little ice breaking time. If you're not uncomfortable, well, if you're not comfortable, you don't have to type. Just if you like to join in, please chat with us. I think many people have already joined. So if you guys can also share with us where you're from, that would be amazing. Oh, chat is disabled. Okay, let me fix that for you guys. Give us one moment. I see. We have already started our webinar, so I'm not able to change our option today. So if you can also share it with our Q&A option, that would be amazing. We have the Q&A section in your Zoom. If you can use that option to share where you're from, that would be amazing. From Belgium, Copenhagen, and lots of others. Good morning from Barcelona and Poland, Switzerland, France. Hello. And from Turkey, Japan, and Italy, Singapore, Israel, and Italy, and Germany, and Slovakia. Many people today. So I see that there are many people who joined our webinar today. And since it's already 03, let's get started with our webinar. And thank you all for joining today's webinar. All right. So first, as I mentioned earlier, my name is Rose, or you can also call me Minji. I am from South Korea. Nice to meet you all. And today we'll talk about how to avoid virtual miscommunication. All right, sorry. Let me get rid of that. And first, before we start, I will read this quote from Dr. Charles. So Dr. Charles is an author and a doctor known for his unconventional medical practices at the time, but now greatly respected for his career and books. He said miscommunication leads to misunderstanding, which rarely leads to anything good. Then what is communication and miscommunication? Communication is the process of sharing information, especially when this increases understanding between people or groups. Now, many of you might have experienced many changes over the years, especially methods of communications over media and various digital platforms. Although the internet and all these technical evolutions have made our lives easier and quicker to communicate bulk of information, we look at it less and less closely, but respond very quickly. This kind of behavior leads to more misunderstanding. Miscommunication is failure to communicate ideas or intentions. Now, let's check out what kind of problems we face digitally. So, miscommunication problems. Some of the common problems people encounter when using digital tools are lack of context, example, unclear responsibilities, assumptions, ambiguity, and or typos, poor listening skills. Now that we have better understanding of miscommunication, let's find out how to avoid these problems. So tip number one, always provide context. Be sure to include a brief background or explanations why you need a document or a quick confirmation from the receiver. Being sensitive and considerate sends the message that you respect their time and attention. Tip number two, abandon your assumptions. Never assume that you understand something in the same way as your client business partner or counterpart. Always make sure that you are on the same page and leave no room for any confusion. Because our brains are always trying to save us from getting ourselves into trouble, it is natural for us to think negatively. Imagine you're in a room or your house and you hear drop of sound. The first thought on your mind most probably isn't rainbows and sunshines, but rather all the mystical dangers or creatures, things you could think of. And biggest point here is that because we do not know if the client or a receiver of this email is enjoying our piece of information or not even caring about our requests. So following negativity, bias, and tendency can lead us to different conclusions. Tip number three, active listening is king. Choose the right choice of communication platform when addressing a crucial issue. Try video calls when resolving an urgent matter. Pay attention to the person's facial expressions, nonverbal cues, body language, tone of voice. Don't just listen, listen with understanding. Listening is quite hard. It's a hard skill to maintain and practice, unlike its looks. While you're listening, it's always great to give your speaker some signs that you are fully focused on their story. When communicating with body language, facial expressions while listening gives the speaker to know that you have the full understanding. Also, it is important to give the speaker a chance to finish. Yes, listening takes a little bit of patience, and please give them a chance to express their whole ideas. Now, finally, our last tip, apply or improve your emotional intelligence. Emotional proofreading is equally important than general proofreading to get your message across with accuracy. Check intended message with a professional tone and not condescending one. Save yourself from apologizing and repairing business relationships later on. What are the key elements to emotional intelligence? According to Daniel Goleman, an American psychologist who helped to popularize emotional intelligence, said self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, social skills. These are the key elements to emotional intelligence. To have in-depth idea, here are 5 signs of high emotional intelligence. Number 1, they handle criticism without denial, blame, excuses, or anxiety. One of the hallmarks of high emotional intelligence is self-awareness. Number 2, they're open-minded. Number 3, they're good listeners. And number 4, they don't sugarcoat the truth. And lastly, number 5, they apologize when they're wrong. So today we have looked at 4 great tips on how to avoid virtual miscommunication. And here is the summary. So if you ever think of how to avoid any kind of virtual miscommunication, please remember the next 4 tips. Abandon your assumptions, always provide context, active listening is king, a good listener, and apply or improve your emotional intelligence. I hope you enjoyed today's webinar. If you like today's topic, we would like to share some extra tips for you to study on our portal at goFluent. So this slide, if you can see here, I have captured some of the important tips that you can use around our portal. Many of you may already know these tips, but here's a few. So first, if you go to your portal on your homepage on the first screen after you log in, here is recommended for you. And if you scroll down just a little, you'll see more on how to contents. And if you click view all, you can see the filtering option. And from here, you can choose levels and categories. I recommend taking the placement test first and check which level you're placed in and choose the level and see which kind of categories you're interested in, and also try out all our how-tos. But from our how-tos, I also recommend choosing these filters from the category. So emails and letters or email templates, reports, and conference calls. So these are all located in this category filter, and it's all related to what we talked about today. So why don't you check it out? And if you had any questions, please contact your local LCs. And also, I would like to give you some tips on using our search bar. So in our search bar, you can also search some of the keywords that you are interested in, mainly to focus on subject that we talked about today. You can try searching communication, expressing, and meetings. You can, of course, search other words that you would like that relates to our meeting, our webinar today. And lastly, our workshop lessons. So these are for our learners who have live lessons. So if you have one-on-one lesson credits left, you can apply for our 90-minute lesson about communication. So these communication subjects may be a little bit hard because they have a little bit of level, but if you're still interested in taking our focused subject, please ask your local LC. And workshop lessons are only applicable 24 hours before the lesson. And also you can only apply them by contacting your learning consultant. So if you had any other questions regarding workshop lessons or any subject regarding today's webinar, please let me know. I will check our Q&A section. And also you can see here, this is just a small subject that I brought that relates to our subject of webinar today, but we have a lot more subjects for you for workshop lessons. So please do contact your local LCs. Now, if you had any more questions, please let me know at the Q&A section, and I will try to read them out loud and check and answer all the questions you might have for us today. Oh, you would like some books and references of people. Okay, give me 1 second. So one of our learners asked, could you please share some books and reference on the people you're quoting, please? And you've mentioned, for instance, Daniel Goleman. Could you please provide the right spelling? Okay, so let me type for you soon. So I have a little screen for you guys. So our Charles F. Glassman, this is our recommendations. Um, Actually, our link does not mention too much about his books, but here you can also check out his books and his career. And I will share this link with you guys too at the chatting bar. I hope you guys can also click on the link that I've shared. If you guys can't, please let me know in the Q&A section. What is the number of attendance in workshop? So workshop lesson is, it depends on the live lesson credits that you have. So please check the product that you might have with your local LC, your learning consultant. And yes, we will be sharing our slides that we presented today. We'll share with you shortly after we give the recordings and the slide to our team. And also the recording as well. Taking notes can be considered a good sign, but if you're taking too much of your time and focus on taking notes, I don't think that will be such a great idea. Nowadays, since a lot of our devices and digital devices have evolved, we can either record or even record with notes. So you can, how can I learn who is our LC? You can go to your goFluent portal and go to your contact. So let me show you. This will be my personal account. So it may look a little bit different from yours. So please take that into consideration. So if you go to the drop-down bar here on your right, you can go to Contact Us. And here you can check who your local LCs are, and they will normally have a phone number and your email address of your local LCs. Individual conversation, you can contact us also regarding to your local learning consultant because this depends on your product. Daniel Goldman information. Okay. Oh, you do not see the links. Okay. Since our tools are a little bit focused, well, limited today, is it okay if I share the chat's links through our presentation? We'll be sharing with you all the information that you have seen today on our presentation through with the recording, and I will leave all the links and information about our codes and our psychologist, Daniel Goldman. And how can I get my individual conversation? Oh, I think I answered this a little bit earlier, but please contact your local learning consultants. And if you guys have any other questions, please let me know before we end our webinar. And it is very nice to meet you all today. This is my first time actually meeting all of you guys from Global Team. So please let me know if you guys really enjoyed our webinar, and I will see you guys next month. Thank you. Thank you for joining our webinar today. Daniel Goldman info. Sorry, guys. Let me leave this on for you. Actually, I do not know who sent the links to us, but yes, Daniel Goldman, this seemed to be the right person. But we will give you the exact article that we have used in this presentation today uh, through the email or with the recording. Okay. Bye bye, everyone. Thank you for joining today. I think some of you have already left. Please, the rest of you, if you had any more questions, please let me know. It was very nice to meet you all as well. All right, everyone, it seems like nobody has questions anymore. I'll be ending our webinar today. Thank you.